They told me my dad died a hero. Shot down in some war. Buried with honor. Loved me more than life itself. I believed it. Because that's what Mom said. And if there was one person I trusted in this world, it was her. We lived in a quiet town. Nothing special, just small town peace. Pancakes on Sundays, bike rides through old roads, polite hellos at every corner. She never remarried. Said I was enough. Said my father gave his life for our future. So yeah, I grew up thinking I was the daughter of a fallen soldier. Turns out, I wasn't even the daughter of a man worth meeting. The lie unraveled fast, too fast. It started with a phone call. A voice, cold and tired. You need to come to the hospital. Your mother, it's serious. That word, serious, echoed inside me like a death sentence. I dropped everything and rushed there, not ready for what came next. Stage 4, the doctor said. 2 weeks, maybe less. It hit me like a freight train. No prep, no warning. Just, boom, your world's ending. She was the one person I had left. My home. My whole identity. Gone. In days. But when I confronted her, crying, asking why she didn't tell me sooner, why she didn't fight, she just smiled. A strange, peaceful smile. Sweetheart, she said, with that steady voice only moms have, I didn't want you to worry. And I'd never sell this house. It's yours now. I want you to have something, when I'm gone. I was stunned. Angry. Grateful. Heartbroken. All at once. But nothing could stop what was coming. The funeral was small. Quiet. She didn't want anything big. I respected that. But walking into the house afterward felt like stepping into a museum of memories. Everything still smelled like her. I kept finding little notes she'd written. Grocery lists. Half-used lotion. Her favorite sweater. I couldn't stay there. It was too loud in the silence. So I sold the house. Packed up our life. Moved to Houston. Figured I'd start fresh. New city, new everything. And then came the letter. I found it in a sealed envelope tucked inside a book she always kept by her bed. Her handwriting shook like she knew it would be the last time she ever wrote anything to me. Sweetheart, I said I wouldn't ask for your forgiveness, but I do need to confess one last lie. I froze. What now? Your father is alive. His name is Graham Fletcher. He lives in Houston. Alive. Not dead. Not a soldier. Not a hero. Just alive. Just, not here. Not in my life. Not for 23 years. What kind of man lets his daughter grow up thinking he's dead? I didn't know. But I had to find out. I tracked down his office. Fancy. Rich guy rich. Leather lobby chairs and glass walls that whispered you're not supposed to be here. Still, I walked in. Heart pounding. Hands shaking. Hi, I said to the receptionist. I'm here to see Graham Fletcher. She raised an eyebrow. Do you have an appointment? I'm family. Unfortunately, Mr. Fletcher only sees scheduled guests. That's when fate walked in. Or maybe karma. Because as I turned to leave, I saw him. Grey suit. Confident stride. Eyes that looked through you, not at you. Mr. Fletcher? I called out. He paused. Looked me over like I was a puzzle missing too many pieces. I need to talk to you, I said. I'm very busy, he replied with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Please make an appointment. Something inside me snapped. I'm your daughter. He blinked. Then laughed. Oh really, he said. You and everyone else. You're my 23rd kid this year. Try harder next time. He walked away. Just like that. Left me standing in the lobby with his fake smile burned into my memory and my heart crushed into dust. That should have been the end of the story. But it wasn't even the beginning. I don't remember the walk back to my apartment. Just that I got there, curled up with my mother's sweater, and sobbed until my body gave out. He didn't just reject me. He denied me. Mocked me. Killed me in a whole different way than I thought he had. I thought I'd hit rock bottom. But life had other plans. I needed a distraction, something, anything, to pull me out of the spiral. I took a walk, ended up in a little cafe near my apartment, ordered a coffee, and sat by the window. That's when I saw a help wanted sign across the street. No thinking, no planning, just action. I walked in and asked for the manager. 10 minutes later, I was hired. Hostess. Minimum wage. No experience needed. Perfect. The shifts were exhausting, but they gave me something I didn't know I needed: people. Customers. Conversations. I found comfort in strangers. I smiled again. Not because I was okay, but because it helped me pretend. One night, I left work late. Cut through an alley to get home faster. 2 men were there. One leaned against the wall, the other stepped into my path. "Hey, beautiful. Where you headed?" I tried to keep walking, but they blocked me. My heart was slamming in my chest. "I'm meeting my boyfriend. He'll be here any minute," I lied. Then someone actually stepped up behind me. I panicked, until I saw his face. Strong, calm, sharp eyes. He didn't say a word. Just stepped between us, and within seconds, the 2 creeps were on the ground. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, breathless. He smiled and said, "Well, my love, shall we get going?" And just like that, I followed a stranger into the night, already more safe with him than I'd felt in months. His name was Nolan. And that night, everything changed. Nolan walked me home that night like it was the most natural thing in the world. He joked the whole way, calling me his girlfriend like we were already in some kind of twisted rom-com, and the worst part? I didn't hate it. Not even close. He had this calm energy about him, protective but playful, and it chipped away at my walls faster than I could rebuild them. We reached my apartment building, and he stopped at the bottom step. "Good night, my love. I'll see you tomorrow," he said. It made me laugh. But when I got inside, something strange hit me. He never asked for my name. Never gave me his number. Just walked away like the universe would make sure we crossed paths again. And somehow, that idea felt less crazy than it should have. I couldn't stop thinking about him. At work the next day, I was smiling like an idiot. My coworker Lucy noticed right away. "You met someone," she teased, narrowing her eyes. "Who is he?" I didn't even get his last name, I admitted, embarrassed. But yeah, maybe I did. Every night I expected him to show up again. Every night, I went to bed disappointed. A week passed. No Nolan. No surprise appearances. Nothing. I told myself to get over it. That I was being ridiculous. But every time the restaurant door chimed, I looked up. Every single time. Then came Sunday. My shift was about to end when one of the waiters approached me, looking awkward. "Hey, there's this guy, he's asking for you. Says he's a customer but doesn't seem unhappy or anything." I stepped out front, and there he was. Nolan. Grinning like it hadn't been a week of silence. "How have you been, my love?" he asked, like we'd just had coffee yesterday. "I work here," I said, crossing my arms. "You can't just waltz in like it's normal to vanish for a week." I know, he said quickly. "Look, I asked your manager first. Got permission. Everyone vouched for me, believe it or not." That caught me off guard. I glanced back. Sure enough, my coworkers were all watching through the kitchen window, clearly invested. "I wanted to see you again," he said. "But I didn't want to overstep. I figured asking was safer." It was strange. Charming, even. But I still needed answers. We sat down for dinner, off the clock, and he started explaining everything. Said he'd seen me before. At the restaurant. A few times. Had even been seated by me once. "I kept hoping you'd notice me," he said. "But you never did. And then that night. I saw you walk into that alley, and something told me to follow." He paused. I didn't plan anything. I just couldn't walk away. I believed him. Not because I wanted to, but because something about the way he said it felt raw, real. The rest of the night was easy. Too easy. We talked like we'd known each other forever. About books. Music. Our mothers. His dad, who raised him alone. My mom, who was gone. There were moments I forgot how broken I was. He walked me home again that night, and when we reached the steps, I hesitated. You didn't plan any of that, right? I asked, my voice suddenly quiet. The two guys. The timing. It wasn't some twisted stunt to impress me. His smile faded. No. I swear. It just happened. I didn't even know your name. That night, under the moonlight, he kissed me. And everything after that felt like a dream. We were inseparable. Days blurred into weeks. I stopped looking over my shoulder. I started laughing again. My coworkers called us the perfect couple. And honestly, it felt like we were. Then came the night he took me to an upscale restaurant. Everything felt different. The setting. His energy. The way he kept nervously patting his pocket. He reached in. Pulled out a small red box. My heart jumped into my throat. Then I heard it. A voice I hadn't heard in weeks. Nolan. What are you doing here, son? I turned. My father. Standing right beside our table. Nolan froze. The box still in his hand. Graham's eyes locked on me, and everything changed. What the hell is she doing here? He barked. My blood ran cold. You couldn't get money from me, so now you're dating my son? I blinked. You're what? Don't act surprised, he said. You knew exactly what you were doing. My ears were ringing. My hands went numb. Nolan stood slowly. Dad, she's your daughter? The words hit like a slap. The rest of his rant faded into static. I barely heard it. I stood. I ran. I didn't stop until I was home, where I fell to the floor and screamed. I had fallen in love with my brother. Or so I thought. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My mind was spiraling. Everything I thought I knew about Nolan, about myself, about the past, it all came crashing down with one word: son. My hands trembled, clutching the edge of the kitchen counter as I tried to convince myself there had been some mistake. Maybe it was a cruel joke. Maybe Graham was lying to hurt me. But deep down, I knew. He wasn't the type to lie when the truth would do more damage. When morning came, I found Nolan outside my building, sitting on the steps, looking like he hadn't slept either. I didn't know, he said the second I opened the door. His voice was wrecked. I swear to you, I didn't know. I didn't say anything at first. Just sat next to him, staring out at the street. How long have you known him? I finally asked. My whole life, he said. But we're not close. I barely talked to him. He was always just cold, distant. Threw money at things instead of love. My mom and he weren't even together when I was born. He just signed checks and disappeared. So he knew about you? I asked. But you didn't know about me? He shook his head. Not a word. I swear. Until last night. Silence hung between us like a thundercloud. The worst part wasn't even the heartbreak, it was the shame. The sick, twisted feeling of betrayal, even though neither of us had done anything wrong. I wanted to run again. From the city. From him. From everything. But something in Nolan's eyes, this shattered, desperate need for truth, kept me grounded. Then we find out, I said quietly. All of it. Every secret he's buried. Every lie. We spent the next week digging. Nolan started pulling old documents. Birth certificates. Financial records. I contacted a lawyer, a woman my mother had once mentioned in passing, a friend who owed her a favor. Together, we pieced things together, one layer at a time. The truth. It wasn't that we were siblings. Not biologically, at least. Graham had been with Nolan's mother before me, yes, but Nolan had been adopted by him, legally, not by blood. A move he made purely to avoid a lawsuit from the woman's family. According to the lawyer, it was all business. Everything Graham did was about power and appearances. Nolan wasn't my brother. But that didn't undo the damage. I still couldn't breathe around him the same way. Every touch felt haunted. Every kiss, poisoned by what could have been. But Nolan wasn't done. He wanted answers. Real ones. And he wanted justice. One night, he showed up at my door holding a flash drive. You need to see this, he said. He'd hacked into Graham's private emails. Turns out, Dad wasn't just cold, he was dangerous. There were messages between him and a woman named Janine, someone he was seeing behind closed doors. What caught our attention wasn't the affair, though. It was the business. He was laundering money, using shell companies, dodging taxes, hiding assets in accounts tied to Nolan's name, accounts Nolan didn't even know existed. And then came the worst part. Emails about me. Graham had known I was alive. Not just from my mom. For years. He'd been keeping tabs. Had files. Pictures. Notes. Surveillance. He's been watching you, Nolan said, his face pale. Since you were a kid. I nearly threw up. My father wasn't just a deadbeat. He was a predator. A liar. A manipulator who had orchestrated our entire separation, and then, sickeningly, crossed paths with me again just to humiliate me. We needed a plan. Something big. Something legal. But also personal. This isn't just about revenge, I told Nolan. This is about ending whatever sick power he thinks he has over people. Our lawyer friend agreed to help. She had contacts. Said if we could get enough evidence, we might be able to take it to federal authorities. But you'll have to be careful, she warned. He's dangerous. He's not going to just roll over. That night, Nolan and I stayed up until dawn, planning everything. The wire transfers. The forged signatures. The offshore accounts. Everything we could find, we documented. Categorized. Duplicated. I still didn't know where things stood between us romantically. We barely touched. We were like two soldiers in the same war, exhausted but committed. And yet, in those quiet moments between strategy and fear, I caught him looking at me with the same soft eyes. Like despite everything, he still believed in us. I'm sorry, I whispered one night. That you got dragged into this. He shook his head. I don't regret a second of it. Not even the parts that hurt. We were broken. But we were also united. And soon, it would be his turn to feel powerless. Graham Fletcher had built a kingdom on secrets. We were about to tear it all down. The moment we handed over the files, it was like lighting a fuse on a stick of dynamite. The authorities didn't even blink. They took one look at the hard drive, read a few lines of those emails, and the mood shifted. What started as a quiet conversation in a law office turned into a full-scale investigation within a week. Nolan and I stayed low. Our lawyer advised us to avoid making any moves that would alert Graham. The feds wanted him blindsided, and we wanted to watch him fall. The build-up was unbearable. We tracked everything. His morning routines, his office hours, even the way he barked at baristas. This wasn't revenge fueled by anger anymore. It was precision. A calculated dismantling of a man who'd built his empire by ruining other people's lives. One morning, it happened. We were sitting in a rented sedan parked across the street from his office tower. Nolan was gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles went white. That's when the SUVs pulled up. Men in suits. Badges. No hesitation. They swarmed the lobby. Within minutes, Graham Fletcher was dragged out of his own building in cuffs. Shirt wrinkled. Tie askew. Face frozen in disbelief. For once, he wasn't in control. I wanted to cheer. I wanted to scream. But mostly, I just watched. Silent. Still. As the man who had tried to erase me from his life was erased from his own kingdom. The news broke within hours. Prominent real estate executive arrested in multimillion-dollar fraud and money laundering scheme. His face was everywhere. And not the polished PR photos he paid for, these were raw. Mugshot. Cold eyes. No charm left. His assets were frozen. His reputation torched. Business partners bailed. His empire. Crumbling. And then came the fallout. People came forward. More victims. Employees. Former lovers. Even a former partner who admitted Graham threatened to ruin his family if he ever spoke out. The stories painted a picture far worse than we imagined. Blackmail. Extortion. Even rumors of silencing people permanently. But they didn't have proof. We did. We gave them everything. Our lawyer orchestrated the rest. Nolan and I were protected as whistleblowers. And as it turned out, those shell companies in Nolan's name gave him legal claim to more than just documents. He had rights to a portion of the empire. I don't want his money, Nolan said flatly. I understood. But I also knew what it meant. Power. The same power Graham used to manipulate, Nolan could now use to rebuild. So we sold what we could. Donated half. Kept the rest to launch something new, something clean. A legal clinic. Free representation for victims of abuse, fraud, and family manipulation. We named it Eleanor House, after my mom. And just like that, something good rose from the ashes. The day of the sentencing, we sat in the courtroom together. Graham walked in wearing an orange jumpsuit. He wouldn't look at me. Not once. When the judge asked if anyone wanted to make a statement, I stood. My name is Ava Fletcher, I said. I'm the daughter you pretended died with my mother. The one you left in the dark while you lived a double life. I'm not here for vengeance. I'm here to make sure you're remembered not as a businessman or a father, but as a fraud. He flinched. Just barely. But I saw it. That was enough. He got 25 years. White collar, minimum security, but still prison. Still a caged life for a man who once had control over everything. Afterward, Nolan and I walked out into the sunlight. We didn't say anything. Didn't need to. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not healed. Not yet. But whole. That night, we went back to the old cafe where this all began. The same table by the window. Same creaky chair. Nolan reached across and took my hand. You saved me, he said softly. No, I said, squeezing his fingers. We saved each other. And that was the truth. Not the one we were raised with. Not the one carved into some fake legacy. But the one we chose. Together.